Today we're talking about the 2005 film, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Carmen, Bridget, Lena, and Tibby are four best friends who are about to spend their first summer apart when they find a magic pair of jeans that fit all of them. Let's dive into this nostalgic throwback about teenage friendship.
I liked the opening a lot. I thought it painted a cool picture.
The credits with the pants and the music was so nostalgic.
There was definitely a nostalgia vibe to it, but I'd never seen the movie before.
We got an intro to the four girls. Their moms met at a prenatal yoga class, and the only thing they had in common was their due dates. I am curious what all of these girls' astrological signs are because they're so different from each other.
I started thinking about it more later on, but high school is so cliquey that having such four distinct personalities in the same group was very interesting. It was cool that they can get along so well being so different.
I'm surprised that it took until their 16th summer for them to start drifting apart.
In the montage of their friendship at the beginning, we see that Bridget is the more vocal one of the crew and stands up for everyone. Carmen's dad leaves, and we see that Tibby has always been into making movies. Lena has always been kind of shy and soft-spoken. And we learn that Bridget's mom died, and we also see her dad is not very sure on how to handle emotions. It gave a really good view of the progress these young women have made through their lives and the trauma they've had and kind of set their personalities.
Bridget's dad in this movie is Blake Lively's real dad.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This is also Blake Lively's film debut.
I wondered about that. I think this is also possibly the only Blake Lively film I have seen.
What? A Simple Favor could be loosely defined as a rom-com, so we're totally adding it to our list. It has Blake Lively and Anna Kendrick.
I'm familiar with her because, Ryan Reynolds, and they have such a public banter going on.
When I was younger, I related to Bridget and Carmen, but I wish I had been more like Tibby at that age. But I'm glad that I have grown to be more like that.
I'm envious of Tibby's independence from the crowd in high school.
I liked Tibby's video that she made complaining to her parents about having a baby.
I like that too.
So Carmen is doing a voiceover talking about how together they form one whole person, which not great, but wild, unstoppable Bridget, shy and beautiful Lena, Tibby the rebel, and Carmen the writer. Even though it's kind of problematic to think about themselves as one whole person together, it's really cool to see that they're all such different people with very different interests, but they're still able to support each other.
Their friendship's interesting to me in that way, that they're so different, so supportive, and also staying friends for so long. I personally don't have a friend that I've had since childhood, really, so it's always interesting to me to see those relationships and see how they develop.
They're almost more like sisters. I mean, obviously the way they grew up together influenced them, but I feel like no matter what, unless there's a big rift, they're generally going to be in each other's lives no matter which direction they go, kind of like a sister would be.
That's a good point. We go from Carmen giving the voiceover about who they are to them shopping for their summer trip.
Lena points out a dress she wants, and Tibby compares her to Laverne DeFazio from the 70s TV show Laverne and Shirley, but Lena doesn't understand the reference.
I got a kick out of that because I'm so used to seeing Alexis Bledel as Rory in Gilmore Girls. And I was like, Rory would know who that was. This is like Yale dating Logan era Rory. That's where she was in her Gilmore Girl life.
Although Logan is my favorite of Rory's boyfriends, I do prefer Costas.
I do too.
Everyone's talking about their summer plans. Bridget is going to Mexico.
Baja California, Mexico for soccer camp.
And Lena is going to Greece. And Carmen's going to South Carolina to visit her dad.
And Tibby is staying in town and getting a job.
And she feels abandoned because they're all leaving.
Which I don't blame her. I would too.
And then they find these jeans that magically fit all of them.
Tibby and Lena try on the pants relatively reluctantly, but they try them on in the changing room. Bridget and Carmen just take their pants off in the middle of the store, which Bridget kind of checks out. Carmen surprised me a little bit. but good for her.
I know that there's a sense of magic in most rom-coms and a sense of disbelief. You go into it knowing it's not realistic, but I just can't wrap my head around these 4 girls wearing the same pair of jeans.
I know.
It's not possible.
No, I 100% agree.
Lena said it's scientifically impossible for a pair of pants to fit all of them because it is.
I liked Lena's rationality. It was hard for me at first because she does kind of play something similar to Rory from Gilmore Girls, but eventually she branches out from that. And I was like, okay, cool. This is better.
I like the character arc we see from Lena.
I do too.
So they buy the pants, obviously, because if you and your 3 best friends who all have completely different body types find a pair of pants that fits all of you, of course you would buy them. They're clearly magic.
Yes.
They take the pants and break into the old yoga studio.
With their flashlights, which I thought was kind of funny because now everyone would have just their phone flashlight.
That's a good point. Did you know that kids these days don't do the call me phone hand symbol anymore?
And what do they do?
They just have their hand flat, like you're high-fiving the side of your face, because phones don't look like that anymore.
Oh, wild.
They have a candlelit ceremony to make up rules about the pants.
Or a manifesto, as one of them calls it. I think of manifestos as being a little more dictatory or like rebel type thing.
They're gonna pass the pants around all summer, trading off who gets them, and write a letter about the most exciting thing that happened while they were wearing them. So they each go around making rules about the pants. Lena makes a rule that the wearer must be the one who removes the pants. Bridget is like, touche. And Carmen says no washing the pants.
I do think they should have washed the pants.
Like, all 4 of you are going to wear these all summer, and you're not going to wash them.
I agree with everyone. That's really gross.
I like that Bridget made a rule that you can never say you look fat while wearing the pants. That was very sweet. And they conclude their manifesto by saying, pants equal love. Love your sisters and love yourself.
I thought this was a cool way for them to stay in touch when they're going so far apart, because it's hard when you go off to do other things to remember to stay in touch.
Lena goes to Greece, and our first shot of her there is her riding a donkey up the steps.
It does not look like a good donkey ride.
I rode a donkey up these same stairs in Santorini where they filmed it and felt like I was going to fall off the whole time. So I can understand how she fell off, especially while riding side saddle. I was able to sit with one leg on each side of this donkey, and I felt so unstable. The pictures of me riding this donkey, I looked so nervous.
And she's not even riding true side saddle. She's just sitting on the horse facing the wrong way.
Lena arrives at her grandparents' house, which I also went to see when I was in Greece. But they painted it a different color. In the movie, it's blue and white, but in real life, it was peach and light blue.
Not as typical Greek island. When Lena shows up, every member of her Greek family is there, it seems.
She's got a big family. Her grandma says that she thought she was never going to meet Lena.
Also, I totally thought that was her aunt the first half of the movie.
I wish my grandparents lived in Greece because I'd be there every summer if I could afford it.
She has such close ties to her friends, though. Maybe she just hasn't wanted to leave them yet. I feel like there's a major fear of missing out, especially when you're a teenager over the summer when all your friends are in one place and you're somewhere else.
That's a very good point.
But yes, I would also be in Greece all the time.
Lena is the first one who has the jeans, and summer in Greece would be way too hot for me to wear jeans. So I don't know how she's doing that.
I was thinking about that because 2 of them are in very hot climates, so jeans kind of seem like maybe not the greatest idea. Sisterhood of the Traveling Shorts.
Sisterhood of the Traveling Jean Shorts.
Lena just cuts them off, sends back some cutoffs.
If I had the jeans in Greece the first day, I would have to cut them into shorts and be like, sorry guys, couldn't do it.
It wasn't in the rules.
Yeah, that's true. No rule about cutting the pants. And then we see Bridget going to soccer camp on the bus, singing with her friends.
A very fun looking bus. And then they have team assignments, and Bridget sets her eyes on a young coach
named Eric.
I have a lot of thoughts about all that throughout the movie. I get the whole younger teenage high schooler infatuated with the older guy, but I have in my notes, as long as you don't act on it, I'll be okay with you, Eric. But we all know how this goes.
I understand Bridget being interested in the older guy. And also, it's probably a little bit of wanting something you can't have.
I saw more of her infatuation with him as being a wanting to be wanted kind of thing. It's probably a mixture of the two.
I feel like Bridget has a disorganized attachment type where you really want someone to care about you, but you're also scared of that happening, like a push-pull type of thing. It's very confusing. So I feel like she's set her sights on someone that she technically should not be able to get. So it's even more of a conquest for her when she does actually get it. And then she gets to feel wanted temporarily.
It's like going from your really high highs to a really low situation for her. Bridget's interesting.
Then we cut to Carmen going to visit her dad.
She gets off the train. To me, there were very Dawson's Creek vibes to this whole scene. Like, I expected the theme song of Dawson's Creek to play. It was the cinematography and the music and the mood.
I'm really mad at her dad, and I understand why she is, too.
He's not handling any of this well. He's clearly holding something back.
He waits until the last minute to tell Carmen that he's engaged and living with this whole other family.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're pulling up to my new family's house. And it's like, what? What a bad way to handle that.
And it's even worse that this new family is a Stepford version of his previous family. I could see how Carmen feels thrown away and like she's been replaced by this perfect little white family. This is a pretty rough intro.
It is. I don't feel a lot of blame towards the other family for how the dad's handling this, because he's clearly the bridge. He should have done a little more.
Absolutely. His fiance is like, oh, you didn't tell her yet? What the hell, man? She was clearly giving him space to take care of it himself, and he didn't.
This woman seems like she's ready to embrace Carmen the idea, not Carmen the person.
She's accepting of the idea that her soon-to-be husband has a daughter from a previous relationship, but I don't think she quite understands how different Carmen is from their family and how she's not just going to blend right in with them. It's going to take a little more effort to have her feel included.
Right. And she has no idea about that because the dad seems to not be great at communicating.
Yeah. It could have gone better had Carmen had time to adjust to this idea instead of just being thrown into it.
Maybe meet this new woman as his girlfriend first instead of, hey, we're getting married. You're a bridesmaid. So while Carmen deals with all of that, Tibby is stocking shelves at work.
She works at Wallman's.
She seems pretty unhappy.
She puts a price sticker on her forehead.
And she hears a noise in the aisle over, and she runs over, and this girl has just passed out. Someone calls 911. And ambulance comes, takes this girl away, and the girl wakes up just a little bit, and she's like, you've got a price sticker on your head.
This kid that passes out is in a show called Atypical on Netflix.
Oh. We pick up in Greece with Lena, and she's in shock about how everyone is so scantily clad, whereas she is a person who likes to be fully covered.
She's uncomfortable when she sees a topless woman on a boat, and she grabs her shirt and holds it even closer.
Yes. I liked her introduction to Costas. It was funny when she fell in trying to get a better peek at Costas.
I want to know why she was sitting so close to the edge in the first place. She's very lucky that Costas was there and saw her fall in because she's wearing the pants and they get caught on a fish hook and he has to come save her.
This is why we don't bring flare jeans back.
Yes.
So Costas comes in and saves her, and I'm a big fan of him. Just putting that out there.
I'm such a big fan that I went down to this harbor when I was in Greece and tried to find my own Costas, but it was just all old men, so unfortunate.
Maybe they were trying to find their own Lena. He saves her and has taken her to his boat, given her a dry shirt, and they start chatting. He's studying at a university in Athens, and he grew up for the first part of his life in Chicago.
He asks her if she wants to help him throw the little fish back, and she says no, which I appreciated because I would also say no, but I just liked that she felt comfortable and confident enough to say no, but then he makes her do it anyway.
And she squeals. She kind of screams a lot in this movie at first, but good for her for trying new things. He asked her to go dancing, and she's like, No, I gotta go by.
She runs away. If I had to make a guess about Lena's attachment type, I'd say avoidant.
Yes, I would as well.
Gotta keep him at arm's length. The next scene is the soccer camp running on the beach.
Running in sand is very hard because they were not running in packed sand either.
And they ran 6 miles in that sand.
Wow.
Bridget runs up to the front where Eric is running and puts the moves on. She says everything she's heard about him and then asks what he's heard about her. She says she's 17, liar, but it does make me a little more understanding towards Eric because he thinks she's of age, but it's still wrong because he is in a position of power. He's a coach.
I felt kind of uncomfortable watching her throw herself at him, especially after he says no so many times. They chat about how running is an escape once they've outrun the entire camp and go to their tiny little oasis on the beach.
She lays on the sand with her hair down, like she just full on throws her hair in the sand.
This movie was directed by a man.
Of course. The male gaze is strong here.
Yes. Also laying on sand when you're sweaty. Ugh. I don't get how women run with their hair down in movies and do like action scenes with their hair down. I cannot even walk downstairs with my hair down. It gets in my way and I almost fall.
When I was a kid, I played a lot of sports and I would get so upset about any of the other girls wearing their hair down to play the sport because I was like, how are all these people keeping their hair out of their face if it's not in a ponytail?
Carmen's dad's new family and Carmen are sitting down to dinner and they all pray, which is weird to Carmen because her dad never went to church with them. And then phone rings and Carmen's like, I'll get it, which odd to answer someone else's phone. They tell their story about how the dad misdialed and got the fiance, Lydia. They chatted and went out on a date. They have a really cute meet cute story if it weren't like so rough for Carmen.
I have a different take on their story. Imagine yourself answering the phone and it was a stranger who called you and you're going to go on a date. She brought her kids on this date with a stranger.
Oh, I didn't remember that part. She may not have made the wisest choice, but she did make her choice. So
I'm glad it worked out for them, but girl, that is dangerous.
Yeah, really. At least they met at a very public place.
They went bowling. We find out later that Carmen's dad also doesn't like bowling.
Yeah, I wonder if he's developed these preferences or if he's just changing who he is for this woman. This must be so hard for Carmen. Her dad has got a lot to learn about being a parent.
It's really frustrating that he is willing to make all these changes for his new family that he wouldn't make for her and her mom in the past.
Yeah. When she talks to her mom's like, you don't talk to him. And she's like, I talk to him all the time. And she's like, no, you don't talk to him like you talk to me. I think she needs to vocalize her feelings to him because he clearly does not know what's happening. And I don't think all the weight of this problem should be on her shoulders. But I do think it would help if she told him how she feels.
I think she's maybe struggling with how to approach him because she's pretty angry as she's talking to her mom about it. She's very worked up, and I don't think her dad would handle it well if she acted that way in front of him just because he's not as familiar with her or her emotions.
I think he'd probably clam up pretty quickly.
Back in Greece, Grandma is doing the laundry and finds Lena's t-shirt from Costas. She's trying to get the juicy deets about the boy. Lena tries to change the subject, and Grandma flips out when she finds out it's Costas Dunas.
They've got a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing going on with their families.
Forbidden love story.
Then we follow the package from Greece, and this is a pretty solid ad for FedEx. Tibby is making a documentary. She's watching her footage back from interviewing someone working at a diner. And it seems like Tibby may not have had people open up to her quite a lot.
So it's a good thing that Bailey comes along.
Bailey brings the jeans over because they got misdelivered.
Yes. So Bailey is the girl who fainted, but she also happens to be Tibby's neighbor. Tibby had grabbed this girl's wallet when she passed out to see if there was an ID in there.
Bailey accuses her of stealing her money.
Tibby's like, that's kind of like a thank you, but different.
And then they chat for a bit, and it comes out that Tibby is making what she calls an ode to existence. And Bailey offers to be her assistant for free.
I thought it was very cute that Bailey wanted to be her assistant.
I liked Bailey.
But I also understand why Tibby doesn't want another kid around, because Tibby already feels taken advantage of by her parents because she's a built-in babysitter for their new baby.
She doesn't want to have to babysit in her personal time as well. Carmen talks to her dad on the porch. They plan to play tennis, and the next morning the new wife stops them and asks them to go to Paul's game. We transition by the ball getting kicked at Paul's soccer game to Bridget doing soccer drills in Mexico.
Bridget heads the ball over to Eric to try and get his attention.
I get the appeal of the older guy, but this is tricky for him.
I understand wanting to let someone down easy because you don't want to hurt them, but she's coming on so strong that I think you need to, at this point, just make it very clear to her that this is not going to happen and she needs to stop.
There are a lot of risk factors for him getting involved with her, and he makes it clear that he does not want to get involved with her, but she keeps coming. Then we jump back to Paul's soccer game, where Carmen and the dad are watching. The game goes into overtime, so their tennis gets pushed back even more. And then the dad's fiance comes up. It looks like something major has happened. But then we jump back to Bridget doing more soccer drills before we find out what the problem is.
Bridget's soccer coach is the gym coach from John Tucker Must Die.
That's what I thought.
And she pulls Bridget out of the game for being too selfish and not passing the ball.
Yeah, she takes advantage of getting pulled out of the game. She makes eye contact with Eric, takes her hair down, and then just dumps a bottle of water on her face.
This was hard to watch.
It was.
I was like, oh my God, Bridget, stop, please. Based on her desperate need for validation, I felt like I was watching a younger me. It made me kind of uncomfy.
Yeah, it made me think of some things I'd done in the past to get a man's attention. And I thought, if I were Bridget as an adult, I would not like watching this.
Okay, so because there's some drama with the wedding, Carmen has to play tennis with Paul instead of her dad. But their game gets really intense and Carmen hits Paul in the face.
I'm glad she has an active outlet.
It reminded me of the tennis scene from Bridesmaids, and now I'm wondering how many rom-coms there are with a sports game where someone gets injured.
Yeah, I feel like there are probably a lot. We should track that. Sports injuries and rom-coms.
Lena goes to the harbor to try and return Costas's shirt.
I love this scene.
She starts trying to pull in his boat, and he secretly shows up behind her and helps her pull it in.
She did not jump nearly as much as I would have. I would have been back in that water.
He would have had to save you again.
Yeah, give me the shirt back. Go through the washing thing again.
When he says Kalimera, Lena, oh my God. I just want a beautiful Greek man to walk up to me and say, Kalimera, Sarah. That was all I wanted in Greece, and it didn't happen.
You've got to go back. We don't need the romance. I just need you to say this word to me, and we'll be good.
I will just swipe through on Tinder and be like, I just want someone to say good morning to me in Greek. And then they talk about their grandparents' fight.
Kostas does not seem to care at all about the feuds of older generations, which I think is a pretty healthy outlook.
Lena is like, family above everything.
I think it's interesting that the person who knows more about this feud is like, it shouldn't matter to us. And Lena, who knows very little about it, is like, stick to it. Family first.
I think she's also looking for any excuse to keep Kostas away because she'd have to get vulnerable with him if she let him in.
That's a good point. Lena runs away and we pick up with Tibby at Wallman's. And Bailey showed up with all of her recording stuff.
And Tibby's annoyed, but eventually gives in. I love that Bailey has taken an interest in this story. Everyone ends up opening up to her because she seems genuinely interested in what the people are talking about. And I think that's a skill that Tibby doesn't have as much of. And so they're like a perfect pairing to work on this project together.
They are. Bailey seems to want to engage with the person a lot more than Tibby does. They go to interview Brian McBrien because Bailey thinks he'd be a really interesting subject.
I love how passionate he is about his games.
Me too.
And he's the perfect subject for Tibby's documentary. I'm really happy that Bailey brought them together.
Did you ever see the second movie?
I think so, because I'm pretty sure they all go to Greece in the second movie, and there's a cliff diving scene that I definitely tried to recreate. We should totally do an episode on the second movie.
And then we're back with Carmen.
I don't think the mom even really knew what she was getting into.
Oh, not at all. This woman has been 0% prepared for who Carmen is.
Which, again, is the dad's fault. He could have just prepped everyone better.
And then we find out they're hiding something about Paul.
They say that Paul had an appointment and Carmen was like, at the hospital?
And they're like, wait, what does she know? I am glad the dad explains it when Carmen chases him down to find out more.
Me too. And I'm glad that Carmen got a little bit of a reality check here because earlier Paul was called the golden boy and she seems to think of them as this Stepford family that's perfect all the time. So she finds out that they have their own struggles too. I still feel bad for Carmen.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a very hard situation for everyone involved. Her dad just totally screwed them all over.
Everyone's set up to fail in this situation when they could have easily been set up to succeed. And then we're back in Mexico. Everyone's getting care packages from home, but Bridget has a letter from her dad and it's typed and then signed, which made me sad. I have a lot of feelings about her relationship with her dad. I feel like he wants to show emotions to her, but doesn't know how. And she needs a lot more than he's able to give. Bridget overhears Eric talking to his coworkers about the cantina. And she's like, he's hinting at me to go. And we're all like, probably not. Then we go back to Tibby and Bailey editing their footage.
Bailey finds out about the pants.
This scene was sad to me. She seems like she really wants friends.
She tries on the pants and secretly films a video that we see later in the movie.
Then they go around town and make a documentary. Bailey is going to get to see more of the world in a cool way by making this documentary, and she's going to make a friend.
Then they go film a little lemonade stand. The pants are magic, we've established, and they're apparently drawing people to these people who wear the pants.
Yeah, bringing important people into their lives.
Because Lena met Costas while she was wearing them, and Bailey brought the pants to Tibby. I really love Tibby and Bailey's dynamic. They're like bickering sisters. It's like the sister that Tibby needed rather than the little baby she got.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I think they both learn a lot from each other.
They challenge each other. The pants go to Carmen now, and Tibby complains about the price of mailing the package, which I get.
It would be expensive to send jeans back and forth all summer.
And then Lydia wakes Carmen up to get her sheets.
So the Hispanic cleaning lady can wash her sheets.
Yeah.
This would be a good reason for the family to learn Spanish. Even without Carmen being there, if your cleaning lady doesn't understand English, maybe you should learn some Spanish.
I think Carmen relates more to the relationship Lydia has with the housekeeper as opposed to having a familial connection with Lydia.
Yeah, I think Carmen is feeling like an outsider because they are all white and seemingly perfect, and it makes a lot of sense why she is feeling like she's not included in that. Plus, Carmen's like, I do my own sheets all the time. I'm totally fine cleaning my own sheets instead of having this woman who's like me have to do them for us.
I get where Carmen's coming from.
I loved how she said people wash their own sheets all the time. I don't blame her for feeling this strongly about it and maybe not knowing the best way to handle it because she's a teenager.
I can understand where she's coming from. I do feel bad for Lydia at the beginning of all of this because she's just like, I don't know what's happening. No one prepared me for anything.
I think maybe the stepmom's mistake was assuming that she and Carmen were going to be besties.
She also knows nothing about Carmen thanks to the dad, so she's set up to fail, but it sucks for Carmen.
Lena is sketching at the fish market to try to run into Costas, which is not subtle at all, and I love that he calls her out on it.
He pulls up on his little Vespa and parks and doesn't see her, so she moves to the other side of the fish stand to get seen.
We find out Costas's parents died when he was a kid, and that's why he came back to Greece.
I like the questions he posed for her to get her thinking about her life and who she is.
Women are taught to not accept compliments, but even when she doesn't think she's good enough to call herself an artist, I really liked that Costas told her she is an artist. This is so different from the Annie and Officer Rhodes' cupcake situation.
Yeah, he's hyping her up, not pressuring her into something she's not ready to do. It's interesting because Lena is also starting into some kind of relationship with a college guy, but it just feels so much different than Bridget and Eric because it's a very mutual thing, and he's not in a position of power in her life.
I didn't even make the connection that Costas was in college. That adds a parallel that I hadn't considered before. But I think the points you made were important. Like, he's not in a position of power, and he is also pursuing her back.
He doesn't seem to be pressuring her into anything. It feels like she will open up when she's ready, but Bridget feels like she is looking for something and trying to find it through relationships.
And unfortunately, the relationships that Bridget is seeking out are only going to further the issues that she has in relationships. Although, I feel like she kind of has some awareness at the end of the movie.
Oh, absolutely. She gets there. Do you want to take a break? Have an idea for a podcast but don't know what to do next? Check out Buzzsprout. You'll be a pro in no time. They provide tons of information about podcasting and list your show on all major podcast platforms. You can track your stats, get a free podcast website, and so much more. We love using Buzzsprout. It's easy to use, and if you follow the link in our show notes, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card after 2 months of a paid plan. Having a successful podcast is easy when you have the right partners. So where were we?
We just talked about Costas and Lena, talking about her being an artist. All these shots of Greece are making me want to go back so bad.
Yeah, it makes me really want to go to Greece.
And then Lena goes down to the harbor and is doing like a very dramatic stare off into the ocean while a song is playing. Poor Lena doesn't understand why she's pushing Costas away, even though she likes him.
And now she's grappling with everything that he made her think about.
This Black Roses Red song, I remember having this on my iPod, and I listened to it so many times, singing and dancing about heartbreak in my bedroom as a kid. And then Costas shows up and they swim together.
She takes off all her clothes, except for her underwear, and jumps in and goes for a swim. And then Costas walks up and is super pumped that she's showing her freedom and jumps in after.
I did go swimming here, trying to find Costas.
Any luck?
No.
Just a bunch of old men.
And young women that were also searching for Costas. Then Tibby shows up at Bailey's house, and she isn't home, but her neighbors next door tell Tibby that Bailey has leukemia.
And the neighbors say that she stopped the treatments for it, too. It's very sad. And then Bridget sneaks out.
Bridget and her soccer girls sneak out to go to the cantina where she dances with Eric.
He was very surprised to see her, so he clearly was not inviting her to come out when he mentioned it to his coworkers. And he does not want to dance with her.
But he gives in for a little bit.
She dances very sexually with him, and he's like, I can't do this.
And then we're back to Greece,
where Costas is teaching Lena how to ride a moped.
They also walk past a strappy dress that Lena ends up wearing later. I just really love that we get to see her grow and become more comfortable with herself through this relationship. She clearly feels really secure with him, and it's causing her to try new things and open up, like driving a moped and wearing more revealing clothing.
And going fishing. And I like that with her relationship with Costas. It's not like, oh, yeah, he says I should do this. He says I should do that. He's just hyping her up, and she's the one discovering who she is. He's just kind of supporting her in her journey. She draws him too, which I thought was really cute.
How does she not think she's an artist? Because drawing buildings is one thing.
Drawing people well is not easy. Drawing people and drawing buildings are two very different skills to have.
Yeah, and Lena has both, so she's clearly an artist.
Yes, she is.
Tibby is interviewing her coworker Roberta when Bailey shows up.
Bailey gets a lot of good info from Roberta.
It's cool to see their contrast to each other. Tibby totally needs Bailey for this documentary.
People open up and light up around Bailey
Bailey is very reassuring to those other people, which then makes them feel more comfortable being excited about whatever they're excited about. So Roberta sometimes creates ice cream flavors.
Yeah, she calls them experiments.
Well, her most recent experiment was pralines, blueberries, and graham crackers, which sounds so good. That sounds like something that would be at Betty Ray's.
It does. We should contact them. Will you do a Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants flavor, please?
Oh my God, that would be so cute. So they finished the interview, and Tibby is not good at hiding what she learned about Bailey.
And I like how straightforward Bailey is about, I have leukemia. You can talk about it. We can talk about this. Tibby's like, okay, let's go to the next place. Come on. And Bailey's like, wait, are you treating me differently because I have leukemia now? Or do you actually want me to come?
Tibby was very honest with her answer because she was like, I don't know, maybe. And I'm sure that Bailey is used to people treating her differently because they want to spare her feelings.
We pick up at Carmen's bridesmaid's dress fitting.
Her stepmom and sister are very straight-sized compared to her, and Carmen's dad did not have accurate measurements for her dress when he guessed her size, so her dress is way too small.
Probably should have told her that he was getting married and then gotten her measurements after she'd adjusted to the idea.
Yep. If I was in this situation as a teenager, I would not have even walked out of the dressing room in that dress. I would have just been like, it's too small.
Yeah, same. I would have been like, this doesn't fit. I can't zip it up.
The ladies who worked at the dress store were so insensitive.
They really were. I was shocked at how these women were talking about Carmen. And they don't even refer to her as a person either, which is awful.
They're like, the other one. And then Carmen busts out of the dressing room and she's like, the other one's name is Carmen. I totally understand this outburst she has because they were being super rude and she feels like nobody cares about her. So I probably would have done the same thing.
Me too.
But honestly, Lydia doesn't even seem that upset. When Carmen runs out of the dress store, Lydia comes after her for a second like, Carmen, honey, you don't have to run away. Let's talk about this.
Maybe she needs some time, but maybe you shouldn't let your 16-year-old soon-to-be stepdaughter wander around an unfamiliar city by herself.
I think that Lydia does care about Carmen. She's just not very informed about like racial issues, and she definitely needs to learn about microaggressions.
Yeah, I don't think she has any malice towards Carmen. I just think she doesn't understand or know Carmen at all. I think she wants to get to know her, but she doesn't know quite how to approach that, especially since the dad has told her nothing. You can have a successful second family. There are a lot of factors that play into it, of course, but approaching it in the right way is one of them.
So back at soccer camp with Bridget, she is so obsessed with Eric.
She goes to find him on the beach, and he says, "You scare the hell out of me." And I said, yeah, because you could get in so much trouble for how she's pursuing you.
But I think at this point, he's not really pushing her away anymore.
He's starting to let her in a little bit.
She says, single-minded to the point of recklessness is what her school counselor said to describe her after her mom died, which describes this situation perfectly. She is single-mindedly obsessing over Eric to the point where she is being reckless. This to me is like a teacher-student relationship, so it truly doesn't matter how hard the student comes on to the teacher is the one that is solely responsible for maintaining their distance.
I agree with that. I just think she can't hear no, which is a concerning trait for anyone who's pursuing somebody.
It's definitely concerning that she does not take his no seriously. So then Lena sneaks out to go meet Costas.
Lena sneaks out a la Romeo and Juliet, and they go on a super cute boat date.
Also, I just wanted to point out that I know I've said a lot about wanting to find a Greek man, but Costas, the guy who plays him, is from Philadelphia, and he's not actually Greek, so his Greek accent is fake.
I looked him up, and we will probably be seeing a lot of him when it comes to Christmas rom-com time or Hallmark Channel movie time.
Oh, I said that the actress who plays Bailey was in the show Atypical, and I totally forgot that Costas was also in Atypical. He has a very small part, but it's just funny to see them work on something together.
I love Costas. I would totally go try to find a Greek Costas.
Carmen comes home, and the taxi driver asks if she has a key because it looks like no one is home, and she assumes they're out looking for her. But then she finds out they're all just sitting down for a happy little family dinner without her.
And then she throws a rock and breaks the window. And I get it. Why was no one looking for Carmen? This is how it played out in my head. Lydia's like, we've got to go look for Carmen. And the dad's like, nah, she'll come home. And she's like, no, we should go look for her. And the dad's like, nah, let's just have dinner. She'll come home. I'm blaming the dad for this.
I feel like that's exactly how it happened. In terms of the amount of destruction that Carmen could have done, throwing a rock at a window is pretty minimal for how much anger and emotion she is currently feeling.
Yeah, she could have barged in there and knocked everything off the table. Throwing a rock was very tame compared to the kind of anger I would imagine her having.
Windows are easily replaceable. This family has money. It's not going to be a big deal for them to replace this window. She just wants to feel cared about.
Having run away and then coming home and your dad and his new family are all eating without you pretty solidly makes it seem like they don't care. Then she goes to the bus station and calls Tibby because she's coming home.
But Tibby doesn't answer her call because she and Bailey are out stargazing.
Oh, this scene's so sad.
It was.
They talk about how Bailey really wants there to be more than what you can see out there because that gives her reassurance.
Yeah. I wrote down one of the things that Bailey said. I know that an adult wrote these lines, but I really like that they're making this kid seem very insightful. She said, I'm afraid of time and not having enough of it, figuring out who I am and finding my place in the world before I have to leave it, which is very relatable.
Yeah. Oh, poor Bailey. So much weight of the world on her shoulders.
I know we're supposed to think Bailey coming into Tibby's life is this great thing, but Tibby coming into Bailey's life is also a great thing because I doubt that Bailey has been able to talk like this about her upcoming death to anyone else because her parents are going through their own grief process and I'm sure are not able to talk to Bailey like this. I just think they're both a really significant relationship for each other, even if it's short term.
I'm really glad they found each other.
Lena and Costas are on a moonlit boat ride. I read a continuity error that said, even though they're sitting across from each other, in each of their individual shots, the moon is behind them.
Whoops.
So there's two moons, apparently.
Greece is a little different.
Lena says she's jealous of Tibby because she knows who she is. And Costas is so quiet as she's talking here. And I love it. I love that he is just listening to her and letting her take her time to put her thoughts together and not interrupting her. Also, when she can't find the right words to say, he completely understands what she's saying. And he helps her find the right words.
He's a really nice match for her.
Yes, I love their movie relationship. And then they kiss.
I like them a lot. I like Lena too, because I did not like Rory and Gilmore Girls, and so that had kind of turned me off to Alexis Bledel. But this made me like her more. And I know she's always playing the character written, and that's not her personality. But, you know, sometimes they're just characters that you're like, maybe not.
I would say that Costas is one of the few men that I will like probably in these movies. Then we see Carmen back at home with her mom. And her mom says, I don't want to say I told you so, but... And Carmen's like, then don't.
Yeah, really. I hate when people are like, I didn't want to tell you I told you so. And it's like, but you are. And Carmen sends the pants to Bridget. Doesn't Carmen say there's not any magic to them? And then we get Carmen relating everything that happened while she was at her dad's to Tibby.
She expects Tibby to be ready to complain with her and rag on the world with her because that is usually Tibby's MO. But Tibby has had a whole summer of contemplation about life and they're just in two very different spots right now and not understanding where each other are coming from.
I thought Tibby brought up some good points, though, that the dad and Lydia were probably excited for the wedding. Lydia especially. The dad has no excuse.
Yeah, Tibby does bring up good points. I just think now is not the right time to be bringing them up to Carmen.
Not at all. These are points for once Carmen has calmed down and maybe has talked to her dad and figured out some problems.
Right now, Carmen just needs validation for how she's feeling and reassurance. And that's not what Tibby gives her.
So Carmen lashes out.
Yeah. I think Carmen is really wrapped up in her own little world right now, which is understandable because we all have our own little world. But Tibby, I think at this point, is seeing more of the big picture. And she's like, look, these people are going to die someday and you won't have them anymore. So maybe appreciate them while you can. But that is not what Carmen needs to hear at that point. So they get in a big fight.
Yes, and Tibby leaves because Carmen pushes it a little far.
Yeah, she says some hurtful things. And then Bridget wears the pants to go seduce Eric. I was honestly surprised by how little she did to seduce him this time. She literally just walked past his window and he followed her to the beach and they had sex.
He's made a bad choice.
And then Lena and Kostas go dancing and Kostas says he loves her. And then Lena's family shows up causing a scene and her grandpa spits on Kostas. That's a lot. Talk about your anger being misplaced. Because Lena's grandpa is upset with Kostas's grandpa. You don't need to spit on his grandson.
Exactly. And then her family takes her away from the dancing place back to the house. And then her grandma gets really mad and kind of mean about family above all else. And she finds the drawings that Lena did of Kostas.
Lena's grandma is flipping through her sketches of Kostas and she says, you call this nothing? And the drawing that she holds up of Kostas, I'm so distracted by his nipples. I understand this is a serious scene, but I crack up every time because his nipples look so swollen in this drawing.
They do! Oh my gosh. All I could think was he has really prominent puffy nipples.
I don't think his nipples are actually that big.
I don't think so either, but they are prominent on that drawing.
Her grandma is being kind of toxic with this blood is thicker than water stuff. Yes, family is important, but your family feud is silly, and you're pushing your granddaughter to essentially choose between her family and this boy that she has fallen in love with. But like when you start dating and falling in love, you're searching for a chosen family. You're choosing your future family, basically.
I feel like a lot of people don't give much weight to chosen family.
If you're Lena's grandma and you're forcing her to choose between you all, who she barely knows, because this is her first summer coming to Greece, and this boy that she has fallen in love with, you're not going to be the ones she chooses. So you're just losing here.
This could start a whole nother feud.
We go back to Bridget, who is depressed after losing her virginity.
Oh, I didn't know that's what she did.
I think so. Because she says she wanted to talk to her mom, and I feel like that's a classic thing.
But she does not get what she wants from this.
Yeah, she wanted to feel wanted, but it did not fill the hole in her heart. Tibby finds out Bailey is in the hospital. She's kind of cold when her mom tells her and says she'll visit if she has time. I understand where she's coming from. It's definitely hard to deal with death. She isn't ready to deal with those difficult feelings yet. If you're going to regret not seeing them before they die, definitely go see them.
Yeah, exactly.
Carmen comes over to apologize to Tibby because she realizes she's actually mad at her dad, not Tibby, and not her dad's new family, just her dad.
I'm glad she got there.
Me too. And I really love the insight that Tibby has. And she says, sometimes it's easier to be mad at the people you trust because you know they'll always love you no matter what. And I wish that I had listened more to the lessons in this movie when I was younger, because that took me a long time to figure out. And I had apparently just heard it already in this movie and just didn't pay attention.
This movie has a lot of good insights.
It's totally easier to be mad at the people you're closest with, that you feel safe with and trust, because you know that they love you and care about you and will probably forgive you if you have an outburst like Carmen had. But she doesn't have that same type of emotional security in her relationship with her dad. So it's a lot easier for her to be mad at literally everyone else around him because she's not as concerned about preserving those relationships as she is about having things be good with her dad.
That's a really good point to to make, because I think a lot of people don't realize that, and that Tibby's pointing that out so early is probably going to be very helpful for Carmen and Tibby to be aware of.
Oh, I also saw a continuity error that Tibby's nose ring keeps moving.
Oh, in this shot, her nose ring is really high up. And I was like, how did they get that so high? So that makes sense if it's moving all over the place. And then Carmen and Tibby talk about Bailey a little bit, which I think Tibby needs a friend to talk to about what's going on. Because I do think Tibby at least would regret not seeing Bailey in the hospital.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then the pants are back with Lena.
But she misses Bridget's note. It falls under her bed.
She puts on the pants and stands up to her grandfather and tells him how she feels about Costas.
I really love that this summer has made her feel more confident in her own decisions and standing up for what she knows she wants.
I do too. She's really developed into a more confident version of herself over this summer. I think that's going to be great for her.
And then her grandpa has had a change of heart because of how passionate she is, and he tells her to go after Costas.
And the grandma tries to cut in and be like, no, family. And he's like, no, shh. Let her talk. She finds Costas. She runs through all of the people waiting to get in line on the boat, and he drops his backpack on the second floor of the boat and runs down to her.
She and Costas kiss, and she says, I love you.
It's going to be rough to love someone across the world, but people do it. Long distance is very hard, but if you feel you can commit to it and try to make it work, why not give it a go? We are with Carmen and Tibby now, and Tibby has given Carmen the phone to call her dad.
This is really great of Tibby to support Carmen just by being there for her while she's making this phone call. And I'm really proud of Carmen for telling her dad how she's feeling, because that's really hard.
It really is. And he responds thinking he's understanding, but he doesn't hear her, and he needs to hear what she's saying.
When someone is telling you how they're feeling, of course your immediate reaction is to try to make them not be hurt, like you want to fix the problem. But Carmen just wants you to understand how she's feeling. And she makes a good point. Why does Paul visit his alcoholic dad once a month and you only visit me twice a year?
I imagine this conversation must be so hard to do over the phone. I mean, there are perks to doing over the phone, but there's just something about being face to face with people that can be helpful.
I am glad that he's pretty silent for the whole phone call, because it shows that he's listening, and I appreciate him letting her express herself without interrupting her, even though he's feeling pretty shitty during this phone call.
I thought he handled the phone call pretty well. It felt like he wasn't trying to make excuses for himself all the time either, but this must just be so hard for both of them, because he probably doesn't realize how much he's let her down, or he hasn't come to terms with how much she's let her down, but now she's calling him out on it. Now Tibby is outside talking to her coworker, and her coworker is asking about Bailey. So Tibby goes home and gets the pants and goes to see Bailey.
At the hospital, Brian brought her a handheld version of his favorite video game.
Yeah, and taught her how to play it.
I watched this movie with subtitles on this time, and for 15 years, I thought this game was called Dragon Slayer, not Dragon's Lair.
Oh, I thought it was called Dragon Slayer as well. We should put a poll, see what other people thought. Tibby gives Bailey the pants, and Bailey won't take them. And Bailey's like, they already worked their magic on me because they brought me to you. Then Tibby just starts crying, which, same.
I reacted to that line the exact same way Tibby did. Just started sobbing.
Even thinking about it, I'm tearing up because that was a very sad moment. And then Bridget's coming back to town, and she's also sad.
When she comes home from soccer camp, I was wondering if her mom was bipolar. Later, they talk about her episodes, which I feel like that's sometimes how people describe manic episodes.
Bailey died. Tibby's in mourning. She goes and talks to Brian, and then she watches the tapes.
And then we see Bailey's video.
And then Lena finds the letter from Bridget that fell under the bed, and she calls in the squad.
I loved that she called in the recruits.
Me too. And they were all like, yep, we're on our way. They eat pizza and reminisce about her mom. And I think they have a really good talk.
They have a sleepover, and the next morning, Bridget's dog Maggie steals the pants and runs down the street. This scene of Bridget running down the street without a bra on was so male-gazy.
Everything about Bridget in this movie is very male-gazy, in my opinion.
If I had been running down the street after my dog without a bra on, I would be holding my boobs. She runs up to Eric it. I wish that this had just been a co-ed soccer camp and that he was just another camper. So they could have had this cute love story because they are sweet to each other at the end and they decide to be friends. But there are so many things about this that were wrong.
Yeah, they should have just made it a co-ed soccer camp. Overall, I liked Eric, except his bad choices.
I appreciated that he took responsibility. She admits that she wanted it for all the wrong reasons. So it's good that they're having these realizations afterwards.
There was a continuity issue in this scene because where's the dog?
Yeah, she just walks away hugging the pants. Where'd your dog go?
The dog is nowhere in sight.
Maybe she ran home. She was like, well, my work here is done. Guess I'll go home.
Yeah, go home and see if there's any pizza left.
The girls all pick up Lena from the airport.
And they announce to Carmen that they are going to her dad's wedding.
Whether she wants to or not.
I do think it's an important event for her to be at. I think she would regret it later. I'm glad she goes with her friends.
I'm glad she goes. It's nice to see strong female friendships where they support each other and they're not just pitted against each other.
Yeah, it is.
While they're at this rest stop, Bridget makes up rule number 11 that in the event of an emergency, the pants will go to the sister who needs them most. Carmen's like, I can't wear jeans to a wedding.
So all the girls have arrived at the wedding and they're sitting in the back row.
I was just wondering how it takes until the ceremony starts for anyone to notice them because this is a very small wedding. It's literally in their backyard. The dad doesn't really notice that Carmen's there until the ceremony starts.
I got the feeling they had slipped in right before it started. And so he was like, okay, going to my place, going to be there, going to do this. And then he looks around and he's like, oh, hey, Carmen.
I thought it was very cute, though, that he interrupted the ceremony to bring her up front with them.
I did too. And that they have their little moment where they hug and she cries.
And then Lydia holds out her hand and smiles at Carmen to come up there and join them, which was very sweet.
I think Lydia is very ready to have Carmen be a part of her life and be a part of the family. Just, she needs to get to know Carmen a little bit. My last note is about the way they decorated the pants.
They put all their summer adventures on there. That was cute. The song that's playing as they're showing all these decorations on the pants is What's This Life Anyway? Just another song that will be added to the playlist.
I'm excited to listen to the playlist.
It's so good. I was so obsessed with this soundtrack. I think I was just obsessed with this movie.
I could see why. I really liked this movie.
Definitely emotional, but also it's very happy too. There's a lot of important lessons and a lot of very good insights.
Yeah, and there's a lot of really good character growth. You'll need a lot of tissues.
So Amber Tamblyn, Alexis Bledel, America Ferrera, and Blake Lively are all very close in real life because of making this movie together and the subsequent one.
Oh, cool.
They apparently had a lot of sleepovers while they were filming and just grew really close, like the characters in the movie.
Oh, I love that. I had no idea.
Yeah, so it's sweet to see anytime they have a reunion because they all post about it on social media when they're involved in each other's lives. Blake Lively, when she had her daughter James, she said that those three are like fairy godmothers to her.
That makes me really happy to know. Thanks for joining us as we rewatched The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. Join us next time as we take a look back at some sibling dynamics in one of our favorite rom-coms, 10 Things I Hate About You. See you next time.
Our song pairing for Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants is Graduation Friends Forever by Vitamin C. This song is all about staying friends as you go your separate ways, so it seemed very fitting for this movie. And it's a bit of a throwback because it came out in 1999. Every time I go to read it, I almost sing it. And so we talked all night about the rest of our lives, where we're going to be when we turn 25. I keep thinking times will never change. Keep on thinking things will always be the same. As we go on, we remember all the times we had together. And as our lives change, come whatever, we will still be friends forever. This song will be included on our Spotify playlist called Lovebug Club Songs from the Podcast. We also created a Spotify playlist for the music that was in the movie that includes all the songs from the soundtrack and the score, because this movie has a wonderful score. There were a few songs notably missing from the soundtrack, so we also added those to our playlist. I think most of the songs on the playlist are in the correct order that they play in the movie, but if you notice any that are out of order, let me know. We'll have links to both of these playlists down below in our show notes, so check those out. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider leaving us a rating and review, and head over to our Instagram at Lovebug Club Pod and follow us to see what we have planned for future episodes.